Hello there. I've done a video on anxiety and then it just came across a couple of other ideas just come back to me. So this is kind of like an anxiety part two. Now, two things actually come back to me. You know, the feeling of anxiety that you get doesn't always mean that it is anxiety. You know, sometimes I've actually had strange palpitations and heart palpitations. Now, I actually haven't been anxious about anything at all. I've had 10 cups of coffee, or 3 cans of Red Bull, or a few cigarettes, or just a sort of bad diet. And I think these produce obvious side effects and goes into your bloodstream and produces bad chemicals. And the actual heart palpitations is very similar to the feeling of anxiety. So you initially put your attention and your mind comes to what am I anxious about, and you might actually not be anxious about anything at all. You might need to cut out caffeine, sugar, salt, these stuff that you and even if you have had these for a long time and you're suddenly detoxing, you're suddenly on a really good top diet, the lack of these substances may be causing the palpitations because your mind and your body is so used to this drug. They're telling you to go and have an espresso, go and have a can of Red Bull. Why have you flipped? Why have you changed your diet from one of, we had an intake of salt and now we don't have it? So be aware that your healthy mind, healthy body works as one. It's very synchronized. And sometimes I feel like you could be looking for anxious parts of your life which might not actually be making you feel anxious at all. You might not actually be anything to worry about. You might just have had 3 cups of coffee. Now that's the first important point. The second important point was going back a few years ago when I was very unconscious, didn't know anything about thoughts and feelings, and I was in a job for a long amount of time, about 9 years. I went for an interview and I had an interview with 3 people. It was an NHS job and it was a panel of 3 which I didn't know until I got there, and I just was overcome with the feeling that I was seconds away from passing out. Absolute anxiety attack that I had to go in and have an interview with 3 people sitting there judging me. So I was in absolute shock. The person called me in. I felt like bolting for the car park, but I just thought, I'm standing outside the door now, I've got to go in. They've photocopied all my notes and all my documents, so it's like I can't just run out. It's a long way to run out. Knowing me, I'd probably go through the door the wrong way and just end up on a stretcher with A&E, and then it'd be a great excuse to get out of an interview. But the point of it, I went into the interview, was very nervous, very cagey, very shaky, and I got the job. Now I was amazed that I got the job being so nervous. If only they knew that in my head I was going to run through the door that didn't open the way that I wanted to and smash my head to bits, probably just run straight through the glass and just carry on jogging like I probably wouldn't even felt the door. Now, this was a great experience, not at the time, but a few months later, I went for another interview where it was the same thing. Different NHS job, 3 people on a panel, and I realised that I did not have any anxiety because I had already experienced that, and obviously getting the job helped. And it made me realise, what if I didn't have the panic attack and the fact that I've already done it once anyway, how good could I be? And what actually happened in the second job, I got that job as well. However, they reported back that I was very confident, and of course I was high as a kite because I'd gone from a nervous wreck, and within 3 months I was someone who was very confident to have 3 people interview me. Now I remember that I researched anxiety and panic attacks for the whole 3 months because I didn't ever want that experience again. I don't think most people actually do look into mental health problems this deeply. I think you just kind of say, I've got it, and you kind of just guess and just hope you stumble into the right information. The information is out there. There's thousands of books on it, so just look and you'll find the right stuff. My research actually made me discover this about anxiety. When famous sports players are about to play a tennis match, or take part in a boxing match, or running, the name of the game for them to be as good as they can, to be at the 100% capacity of their physical state, they have to be very loose, they have to be very relaxed, they have to have the heartbeat very steady, as if nothing was happening, because everything they've practiced, their artwork of boxing, tennis playing, running, whatever it is, their perfect flow is naturally going to come out in this state of calm. However, because they're all walking out on big stadiums, and they can't help to have this nervous natural instinct. And I stumbled across loads of videos on athletes saying how they manage this, and there was a unique sort of familiar occurrence with what they were saying. They would change the nervous process, the anxiety process, to a different story in their head, and they would say it was excitement. Now, this is pure magic of the imagination, really. It's your overriding capability that you can switch on anytime you want. The magic is you can change the feeling of palpitations and anxiety and this chemical reaction in your body to say you are excited. You are completely excited about the challenge. Now you imagine you get bad information and bad news, which would normally necessarily trigger anxiety. Perfect reaction, you get a debt through, you don't get the job that you want, relationship problems, living problems, COVID problems, the list is endless at the moment, isn't it? If you can take that news, feel anxiety, and flip that with a mental thought that I'm feeling excited, do you see how this changes the problem? It makes you be able to problem solve the problem, not just have anxiety where you can't fix the problem. You flipped it to a place where you want to hit it face on. This is a great thing that I learned, and I use this a lot. I worked as a prison officer, and there'd be a massive 2-3 mile walk before you got to the wing. The prison was absolutely huge, these sort of strange, dark, scary tunnels, a complete and utter maze, massive gates that you had to swing open, and 60 guys shouting out the window, all sorts of names that I can't mention live on air. But the point of, there was a nervous tension constantly through the walk. No matter, even after working there for a year, I still had this feeling on this walk, and and I had to learn how to change this nervous feeling, because if you go onto the wing nervous about what you're about to face, you're going to get eaten alive. Everybody will sense it, and you're going to have a nightmare. So this process for me, this 5-10 minute walk, was a process of me shifting this feeling to, I'm going to have a good day, just pure imagination, pure false reality. But the great thing is, your anxiety about the issue is a false reality, because your anxiety doesn't solve the reality anyway. So you might as well use a tool that enables you to clear your mind to solve the problem ahead, rather than suppress it and have this anxious, problem within that becomes a problem, becomes a physical problem. So I think that was an important anxiety part too that I didn't get across in the first video. So I apologise if the first video was naff.